So this is a class of English majors who are thinking about all kinds of opportunities they might pursue after they graduate from the University of Iowa. So we are so appreciative of you joining us and just sharing a bit about the trajectory that you followed since graduating with an English major. The students know that you are the CEO and owner of Uproar Communications, and we are excited to hear anything you'd like to share. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. And hello, class.
Hello.
My path was a little bit crazy and a little strange when I left the University of Iowa. I actually came out of school in a time where jobs obviously were very scarce and far between. So I did a lot of things to sort of get me on my path using my English degree. But where I started with Campbell Ewald Advertising as an intern, as a junior copywriter and an art director because I have a graphic design background as well. And I started there, and they actually hired me on to work on two different accounts, the Chevy account and the Delta Faucet account. And I was with Campbell Ewald for about 2 years, and I realized very quickly that I didn't like it. I loved the work, and I loved the challenges, but big ad agency game was all about sort of backstabbing the people that you were working with at the time. So it didn't really excite me to do that. So I moved on to another company that actually built apartment complexes, and they hired me in as one of their marketing folks, and I handled all of the writing, the PR, and the graphic design, and I did a lot of their production work too in terms of creating all their materials and websites and ad campaigns. And that company was called Village Green Management, and I worked with them for about almost a little over 6 years. And then I was taken away, and I started working on the nonprofit side, and I worked for United Way in Detroit. And I was with United Way for 5 years, and I learned a ton. I started out as a writer for them and a production manager for them, and I ended up being the communications director and running the entire department for them. It was a great organization. I learned so much about the nonprofit side, and I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that my degree or what I could do, that a nonprofit, you could actually have challenges and do a ton of different things for a nonprofit. So I was really, really excited about that. And got to do really awesome stuff like the NFL halftime show and ad campaigns for them in Michigan and also across the country, and worked with a bunch of different ad agencies. So it was a fun time. But through all of that, what was so fun is that I freelanced. And looking at you guys, I know you get this, is that you have friends, they're like, hey, can you help us write a press release? Can you help us put some copy together for our website? We need copy for a blog, social media, that kind of stuff. And it was just, I did it all the way through from when I left the University of Iowa until I started my own firm. And the reason that it allowed me to start my own firm was that freelance stuff. All the people that are freelancing, that I freelanced for years, afforded me the opportunity to sort of jump out on my own and start my own firm. So that was about 20 years ago, and today we have over 20 people that work with us. We do work across the country for national companies, as well as we're still very true to our nonprofit folks. Our philosophy here at our company is that everybody should be able to work with professionals, professional writers, designers, web designers, coders, social media people, videographers. And so we like that entrepreneurial spirit. We like to work with people who are trying to start new businesses and that kind of stuff, but we deal with big guys too. So that's me in a nutshell. But I think the most important thing is, what do you guys want to learn, and what do you guys want to know about the work field? And also, let me say right up front is that, because I am the upfrontest girls of the upfrontest girls, take my name down, take my email down, take my phone number down, and take my cell phone number down. Because if you ever need a contact and you're trying to get into an industry or you're trying to get into a city you want to work in, I am more than happy to shake trees for you. If I know people, I'll be happy to put people together, because as you guys know, it's really about who you know as much as it is about what you know.
Well said.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love going on your website and looking through everything. And I noticed too that when you said you started out, in advertising, things have changed so much since then. Now it's all about the point. And so when we're setting up certain aspects of who we are going out into the market nowadays, does that almost have to translate to a personal level as well as we set ourselves up to get hired to do those things? And what would you suggest with that as we continue on?
Definitely. I think there's so much noise in the marketplace. You have to be able to knock that out and put yourself on the table, and you really do have to sell yourself. A lot of times what we always look for is, obviously we look for experience, but to be honest with you, I hire people right out of college all the time. And the reason I do that is because, one, we've all been in your shoes, so I believe in that. But the second thing is I think everybody, if there's a desire and you want to do something, that has to be exuded through how you present yourself to a potential employer. Resumes and stuff, resumes, online portfolios, all that stuff is great, but really it comes down to how you present yourself, how you actually are going to get into that company. Do you have references? Do you know somebody who might know somebody? How much research have you done about that company? Like, I love the fact that you just said, hey, I've been on your website and I noticed all this cool stuff. It's amazing to me. And I will tell you, 9 out of 10 people who come and interview with me haven't even checked out my website. So they don't know what I do, who I do it for. They haven't asked anybody else in the industry, like, what our reputation is. So none of that research has been done. And that, to me, when you go into an interview and you really know and you want to work for a person, that is hugely impressive. Does that help a little bit?
Absolutely. And, I know a lot of the individuals my peers back here, they are very forthright in some of them in what they're doing. Some of them are really starting their pathways already and starting to create a place for themselves. So, and social enterprising kind of now is the new term versus nonprofiting.
Right.
So as you do that, and I wrote this down because I was, again, reading some of the things that you do for nonprofits on your webpage here. What is your best advice to a newly established social enterprise as far as solidifying who you are within your community and your services within that community?
I mean, in terms of creating a nonprofit or that. Realistically, I think in order to do any sort of nonprofit work, and if you're going to go down that level and you're going to start your own, I think you have to get the buy-in of the business community. And I think you have to be transparent. You have to tell a story. Like most of you guys know, there are a lot of nonprofits, and they talk about an 80-20 rule. 20% of the money goes to administrative costs, 80% goes to whatever the cause is. That equation has been around for a long time, but there's more and more scrutiny happening, and it just happened with Wounded Warriors, right? So there are these people who have these big hearts and they want to do big things, but what starts to happen is that the tax is running a business, because nonprofits are business. I mean, if you're starting your own, if you're going to go work for one, they are big business. United Way in Detroit, to give you an example, when I was there, they raised $125 million a year. It's a lot of money. That's a big company. Okay, they had over 125 people who worked for them. The print budget alone to just print their brochures was $3.5 million. So, I mean, those are some significant dollars of people who are giving back to a community, right? So I think what people are aching for is, one, being transparent. Two, what are you truly doing with the money, and are you capable of working with the money and utilizing it in the best capacity? And three, telling that story of the people you are helping, whether it be animals or vets or, people with, HIV/AIDS or any of the causes that you want to celebrate and work with. That's what you have to do. There are so many, I know that even here, there are so many organizations that help nonprofits. So I would also encourage you to find those like-minded organizations who help manage a nonprofit, help get your feet on the ground if that's what you want to do and you want to start doing those types of activities. If you're looking more to do stuff like web-based stuff like crowdfunding in terms of starting your own apps and that kind of stuff for specific nonprofits, my biggest push to you guys is get yourself, everything that you create, copyrighted. You don't want anybody stealing your guys' ideas, thoughts, words, what you're trying to do. Really do your due diligence and spend the $35 and copyright your ideas.
Thank you. That's excellent advice and that can be applied to a lot of different things as well, that type of pathway of networking. So thank you for that.
Yes. You're welcome.
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
You said that one of your favorite things to do was create, and I was just wondering how your career in marketing provides you with the opportunity to satisfy your creative needs.
I'm really passionate about it. So for me, if I wasn't creating, I don't know what I would do, to be honest with you. I really enjoy writing and being an artist, first and foremost. And for me, working with people, not only on my staff, but seeing people who are so pumped up about being artists, basically, whether you're a writer or whether you're a designer, really geeks me up. Even today, I still, what I always call them, I'm still on the board, meaning that I still create ad campaigns, I still sketch, I still carry around my crazy notebook that I used to carry around, very similar to at the University of Iowa, writing phrases and cool taglines. And wow, this would be kind of interesting for this book. And I have about 9,000 books that I've tried to write and start on my own. So yeah, that's how I keep the creativity alive. And to be honest with you, it's people like you guys who fire me up, because talking to you guys, bringing other ideas to the table, to me, it gets me so excited about what I do that's where all my creativity comes from.
Hi, kind of to piggyback off of her question, I was just wondering like how you find the time in your schedule to like do your creative stuff.
For me, I make the time. And for me, my job isn't a job. I'll be honest with you. I'm really blessed that I get to come into a place that I get to play all day. So for me, I don't come in and feel like I'm actually working. I literally feel like I'm tapping into my creativity. Now, I totally will tell you that there are always bad days, and you guys can attest to this. There's always bad days where you're like, there's no way that I could think of any fun way to say this in another, there are no words that I can keep saying the same things over and over again. But yeah, for the most part, for me, my job is really cool because I get to do it. But what I'll tell you is that you got to carve time out for you. I think that any career path, I think if you do it well, you're going to want to do it to the 10th degree. And I think sometimes you got to say, you know what, we're so fortunate that we're not a surgeon that has a body open and we're trying to figure out how to repair a heart. It's ink on paper, it's words in our brain. And I think some of the best creative processes is walking away from things and then coming back to it. So I enjoy that quiet time too, and just being goofy with, family and friends, and all of a sudden good ideas. And that's where the creativity comes from. But carve out time for yourselves, because believe me, life is too short. It really is. And if you don't do that, you're not going to enjoy the ride. And the ride is a hell of a lot of fun. Anything else?
How did you come up with Uproar Communications? Where did that name come from? Was that something that came from your little book?
Well, actually, Uproar came from my days at the University of Iowa, to be honest with you. A bunch of friends, I have a lot of friends who are in this industry who are now producers and, screenwriters and all sorts of stuff. And we all sat down, and I think we had too many beers, I'll be honest with you, while we were there, and we were looking at each other and we're like, you know what, we need to start, there was no social media at the time, guys. So we need to start a magazine for college students, because nobody understands this time of our lives. This is like the craziest time of our lives. And we're like, it's like an uproar. And that's really where the name came from. So I always give kudos back to my my great college friends who inspired me with the name, because that's exactly, that's exactly where it keyed off of. And really for me, that's what I want to go into companies and create, is an uproar. I don't want to, just be Joe Schmo, just kind of going through the paces, here we're going to do, the same thing over and over again. We want to be a firecracker. We want to come in and stir stuff up. And if you don't like that style, then we pretty much, say, we don't want to work with you, but yeah, so that's where the name Uproar came from. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you have or have had any other experiences from University of Iowa as far as classes, professors, any other experiences that are now directly applicable to your line of work and your past jobs?
Directly related. I would say that all of the creative writing classes that I took at Iowa are directly related to what I do today. Understanding a process and really understanding the craft of writing and putting things together. Like you guys know, it's changed so much. We don't communicate the same way that we did back then. We've got 140 characters to tell somebody what to do. It's a lot different than, we're trying to do tomes of annual reports that have 120 pages that we're trying to write. And there's, obviously that still happens too. But so I would think understanding the craft and understanding the structure was really what Iowa taught me. And then on the design level, because I did a lot of design at Iowa too, just being, one of the things that I always take away is the respect for other people in the room, that everybody else has differing opinions, and that your opinion isn't always the right opinion and your way isn't always the right way. And to really listen to people and, bring everybody together, because the strangest and craziest ideas come from the weirdest places. I know when we did a rebrand for a company of ours, and we sat down with, and you always sit down with executives and marketing people and this, that, and the other thing. And we started to do we always do focus groups with just random groups of people too. And we were sitting down with these guys, and most of them were maintenance guys, and their new brand and their name came from the maintenance guys. It didn't come from the C-levels. It didn't come from the marketing people. It literally came from the guys. And they just had this epiphany idea that was just so cool. And the whole campaign and the whole brand and the whole name ruled right from that. So in a perfect world, that's what I learned at Iowa, is that, everybody's at the table and everybody has a great idea. You just have to figure out how you all work together and get there. Hopefully that answered that question.
That was super helpful. Can I just ask out of curiosity, well, two things, and then we're going to probably have to wrap up. One, what halftime show did you put together? Who was performing?
Oh, the halftime show? Oh my gosh. Third Eye Blind. Who else is, what other I'm trying to think of all the performances that we coordinated. So you're bringing back my recesses in my mind. I did them for like 7 years. But it was a hoot. It was a blast, because, what's so funny is that, which I never knew until I ran one, is that none of the show is really live. It's all pre-recorded, and they're all lip syncing to the songs anyway, because the stadiums can't handle the audio. So I was always like, I always thought y'all sang this stuff, directly. This is pretty cool. But it was awesome. We got to bring in community groups and teach, have these little dance class girls out there with, umbrellas and weird things, and then obviously in the round of putting all the the cue cards and everybody's seats, and it was insane. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today. It's been really great having you in class.
Thank you very much, you guys. And like I said, if you guys ever want somebody to look at a resume, or if you need anything, I think Lena's got all my contact information. Please, I am at your disposal. So today begins your network. So definitely use me. Just send me an email and I will be happy to do anything I can to help you guys move your careers forward.
Thank you so much, Heather. We really appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.